Lily, and today on That Book Review, I'm going to be reviewing P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. I had my issues with this book, really frustrating with Lara Jean, but I still really enjoyed it. I don't know, Jenny Han did a good job making me care for a certain character, and because of that, it's just staying afloat at 4 stars for me. If it wasn't, then it'd probably be like a 3.5 or even a 3. But because of Peter, I have to give it a 4 just because I love him so much. And there are good parts in this book. It's pretty much good until the main conflict starts to happen, which I don't even think there should have been a main conflict. It would have been perfect without it. I feel like it just kind of ruined it for me. So that's why on Goodreads I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And for letter grade, I'll give it also a B+. I did the same for To the Boys I've Loved Before. So make sure you check out that review if you haven't seen it already. You probably should because it's for the first book and this is the second book if you didn't already know. So that's all I pretty much have to say about it. I really loved it up until the conflict part of it. And then once the conflict started happening, it just made things worse. Yeah, it's resolved in the end, but I'm not satisfied. That's my problem. I'm not satisfied. So now I'm gonna hop into the spoiler section. So leave if you haven't read the book. I still highly recommend you read it. This duology, definitely worth the read. Okay, so before I tear this book apart, let's talk about the nice, happy, giddy parts between Lara Jean and Peter. I really love Peter. Just, Peter's the only thing that's keeping this duology of 4 stars for me. I loved it so much right in the beginning, right in chapter 2. She goes to his house and she sees that he's not really happy to see her. So then she decides not to give him the letter or whatever. But then when she's leaving, he sees the letter crumpled in her pocket and they have this whole like fight over it. He's like, why were you just gonna leave without giving it to me? And she's like, well, you weren't not happy to see me. And
it's called playing hard to get. I've been waiting for you to call me, dummy. It's been 6 days. I second my breath. Oh. He pulls me in by the laps of my coat, closer to him, close enough to kiss.
This part made me so warm and fuzzy. And after, when they're in the car, because he drove her home.
Did you tell your mom about how we broke up? No, because we never broke up, he says, turning the heat down. We didn't? He laughs. No, because we were never really together. Are we together now, is what I'm wondering. But I don't ask. Because he puts his arm around me and tilts my head up to his, and I'm nervous again. Don't be nervous, he says. I give him a quick kiss to prove that I'm not. Kiss me like you missed me, he says, and his voice goes husky. I did, I said. My letter told you I did. Yeah, but I kiss him before he can finish, properly, like I mean it. He kisses me back like he means it too. Like it's been 400 years. And then I'm not thinking anymore, and I'm just lost in the kissing.
So I guess the first conflict in this book is when the video gets uploaded onto the Instagram page. And I like how in this book, it teaches you the double standard of how girls are perceived as sluts when boys are kind of perceived as kings when things like this happen. And basically this throws her world out of whack because Lara Jean is not this person. She is not like that.
It's different for guys than for girls, Peter. I know, don't be mad. I'm going to find out who did this. He looks straight ahead, so serious and unlike himself. His profile is almost noble for all its good intent. He turns his head and looks at me, studying my eyes, my face. You don't regret it, do you, Lara Jean? I shake my head. No, I don't. He smiles at me so sweetly, I can't help but smile back. Thanks for getting them to take the video down for me. Us, Peter corrects. I did it for us.
Like, this proves that Peter
actually
likes, probably loves Lara Jean. And I just hate how throughout the book she thinks it's Peter who's not over Genevieve. And we all know and we all can feel that it's Lara Jean who's not over Genevieve. She keeps comparing them. I know I said I wouldn't start picking apart this book right now, but I'm on a roll right now. And basically, the whole entire book, my biggest problem with Lara Jean was that she kept messing things up because she was comparing herself to Genevieve. And she kept saying that it was Peter's fault, and it's not Peter's fault. Like, that section of the book completely proves that it's not Peter. It's you, Lara Jean. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can save some of my rant for later. Let's just keep talking about cute parts for a little bit. Like the time when Peter crawled in through a window, like that was really cute. And also, oh my god, I love my favorite scene is when after the treehouse thing, they're in her kitchen and they're kind of like fighting back and forth, and I feel like Lara Jean's side of the fight was kind of petty and Peter had a little more of a reason. But besides that, I really like the way Jenny Han wrote the makeup part. How they were just fighting and then all of a sudden Peter blurts out like, do you want to break up? And she's like, no. And then she asks, do you? And he says no. And then I just love how he's like, then can we just forget this and move on? And she's like, yeah. And then he's like, can we hug now? And then I was just like, why? He lifted his head His eyes were sad and enormous. Can we just hug now? That's my favorite line in the whole entire book. That's how you make up. They're both like, oh, can we promise not to break each other's hearts anymore? And that didn't last long because you know what? Laura Jean kept playing with John and ruining her relationship with Peter with Genevieve. I hate how all she cared about was that stupid game. Another point in case where Peter is the one that's not the problem is while they're playing the game, Peter is like, I hate this game, I can't see you, can it just be over, can you just come over and tag me? Like, a game shouldn't matter. And the whole entire time I was just like, please don't do anything stupid. And there was a bunch of times where I was like, why, that just ruined it. Like, you entirely did not have to do that. There was like the part when they were like cuddling and she's like, spooning is the best. And then she was like, oh, it made me think of Genevieve, and she made him get out. And I was just like, she says like, I promise never to fight again. You broke the promise like 2 days later. Okay, yeah, and before we keep ripping this book apart, I love the scene when Peter came to take Kitty to school, I think, in his car, in his convertible too, I think. Like, I love that scene too. And she was like, never have I ever loved Peter more than in this moment. Okay, now it's time to talk about John. I mean, I like him, but I don't like him just because of what he caused. He like sort of half caused it, and then Genevieve caused the other half. I didn't take down any notes during that part, because the moment they broke up, Peter and Laura Jean broke up, I was done. I was done with all this bull crap with the stupid book and Laura Jean's jealousy with Genevieve. I honestly thought that the jealousy and petty part and the whole Genevieve thing was going to end by the first book, but it didn't. It kept dragging on throughout the second book. And honestly, they could have mushed the two books together and I wouldn't care. Like, I'd rather have these two books mushed together into one and then have a second book where it moves on.
We're both shaking because we both know this night we become real.
And that means everything else was fake or not like real enough. That should have been the end to the first book, and the second book should have just been her and Peter being all happy, but it wasn't. It was just a drag on. It wasn't like it wasn't really a separate story. The letters come back to play in this with John, and I just feel like that completely ruined the plot. So yeah, let's talk more about John. I actually like John, but I just feel like he doesn't fit the story. Like, there was really no room for him, and I totally saw it coming that he was Stormy's grandson. So I really don't have to say anything about John actually, besides the fact that I like him, and I just feel like he didn't fit the story. That's the only reason why I didn't like him in this book. If there was a different book about like a girl, some past love coming together, like that would have been fine. But the moment I read the section, I was like, oh, but when another boy from her past returns to her life, I was just like, this book is not going to be a 5 out of 5 stars for me. Like, this is not what I wanted in this book. I wanted just her and Peter being happy, being real. But no, they're not real until after this book, to the last page of this book. And just the second part of the book, once John started coming in, I couldn't stand it. I had to, literally, after they broke up, I skimmed the last few pages until I found the words, but I still love Peter. Then I was like, okay, I put my faith back in this book, went back and fully read through it. But I had to will myself, I had to cry myself to keep reading because it was so frustrating. I couldn't stand Laura Jean anymore in the second half of the book. She had to get over it. And the stupid game and how she was so focused on it and all she wanted to do was win. And it wasn't until she finally saw what Genevieve's like problem was. Like, why couldn't she like accept the fact that maybe Genevieve actually had a family problem? Personally, I've learned throughout my life that you can't judge anything. You can't judge a person. You can judge a book by its cover, but you can't judge a person or an action without having concrete proof. Like, you can't make a final decision. You can't make assumptions. And yeah, okay, Peter did lie to her that Genevieve was the person behind the video, but he had a good reason. If only she accepted, you know, his reason or trusted him and just communicated with him and just trust that he is just being friends with her. And I mean, I probably would have, because he's done so many things that proves that he is done with Genevieve and he's just there to be her friend. I feel like I didn't get enough of the cute, adorable relationship that they had. The last 4 pages, I think, starting from this section all the way till the end, like that is the only section that made me truly happy. The other ones made me happy to an extent, but not enough. Like, I really thought like these last 4 pages would be the whole entire book. Now I'm looking at this right now, it says like Covey. I love that he calls her Covey every time he calls her Covey. And even when they weren't together, he still called her Covey. And I don't know if that's just a guy thing, calling by last names, but I loved it. So yeah, I'm basically upset because I wasn't satisfied enough, and with her whole attitude problems too. And it's like John wasn't necessary, and her jealousy for Genevieve wasn't necessary. So yeah, and okay, but besides this, I do like how it talks about the double standard with girls and guys. I also like how in the first book, her sister Margot, who okay, she does have good advice. She kind of tells her to take it slow, don't go too far, or else you're gonna end up like me and Josh. But then in the end, she says,
this could have happened a lot of ways, but this happened this way. This is the path that we took. This is our story. I know now that I don't want to love or to be loved in half measures. I want it all, and to have it all, you have to risk it all.
I like that, because they were playing by safety nets and all that kind of stuff. And he says too, no more contracts, no more safety nets. My heart is yours to break. So it does teach you good lessons, and yes, that stuff, but it should have been in this book. And then this book should have just been happy relationships. That's what we needed. That's what I wanted. But on the terms that this is already done and I can't do anything else about it, it's still pretty good and totally recommend. Comment down below what is your favorite Lara Jean and Peter moment. So that's all I have for this review. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, afternoon, wherever you are. Bye! Today I'll be doing a That Book review on Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. Honestly, part 1 just felt like a petty love triangle fantasy version of contemporary. But part 2... Today on That Book Review, I'm reviewing To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. So I read this book in one sitting because I could not put it down. I totally enjoyed this book, and I think it's probably...